You see me?
Yeah, I see you.
All right.
I'm just trying to find this chat
I'm
room.
trying to listen. Let me raise these windows up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm right where the airplanes be flying.
All right.
All right, Kev.
All right. Give me
You,
one
you you
second.
can't you can't get yourself a little louder, huh?
Nah, it's nothing I could do, but I'm gonna turn this mic on as soon as I get on. Okay.
Okay, I got you though. I'm listening. Go ahead.
That echo in your background is gonna fuck
Yeah.
it up.
Hold on.
All
You
right.
hear echo?
Okay. So damn.
Okay, go ahead. You
So
hear the echo now?
yeah, I still hear a delay for some reason. But
Oh, now I can hear you. I can hear you good, Kev.
okay, introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Keith Peddler. My name is Keith Peddler. I'm the big homie from the Cabbage Patch Piru Gangsters. And I came from baby crippin', straight baby crippin'. Started out over here on 94th and Hobart. And right here where moms and my step pops had moved to from Colden in between Vermont and Hoover. So basically I'm a South Central born and raised baby. Started out on Normandy and 55th where we lived at. That's where I was supposedly living as an infant. I was born at General Hospital, now USC Medical Center. And basically, man, I just wanted to get the story more proper for Carson because a lot of times, people try to explain the history and they don't know the history. So I want to bring some real facts. I came from baby crippin' right here on 94th and Hobart by Sportsman Park, went to Manhattan Elementary, and I was all in. The original Crips came over here on the west side to visit with us right here on 94th and Hobart where I'm at. And my first introduction to the Crips was right here on 94th and Hobart. And the house that we was at was 9423 right here. I went to Manhattan Elementary School. And, basically, man, before we moved to Carson, all I knew about was the Black Panthers and then the Crips. And my pops used to take me to the barbershop right here on Western. And all the black folks used to greet us when we come in with black power salutes and black handshakes. This was back in the 60s, man. I was born in 61. So I remember in the late 60s how it was. And the bottom line, man, I just wanted to say that when the Crips pulled up over here on 94th and Hobart, they was in a white 65 Chevy. Back then they had the moon hubcaps on it. They had on leather coats. They had their afros out. They jumped out on me and a couple of other youngsters. And they said, man, what y'all gonna be when y'all grow up? And we looked at them like, what the hell y'all expect us to say? We gonna be Crips. And they said, well, right now y'all baby Crips, young blood. Back then they said young blood because there was no blood gang in existence at that moment. The only other gang that was around that I knew of was the Brims that my relatives from Harlem 30 Godfathers told me about. And so at that time, during that time, blood and cuz was not even associated with the gang banging world. I'm 57. So I'm going to tell you the real history on what I know from my side of the fence. So over here, it was just Crips, West Side Crips. And Big Tookie and them used to stroll through Sportsman Park, St. Andrews Park. And when we would ditch school at Manhattan Elementary, we go to Sportsman Park and hang out. And we would peep out the Crips that be at Sportsman Park. They used to have a kiddie pool up here too. Sportsman Park is where I learned to swim at. This is where my playground was. I went to school with Leonard, Freddie. I knew Black Jeffrey from 9-0. It turned into 9-0 later on. But anyway, I'm going to get back to what I'm talking about. My first introduction to the Crips was back. It had to be like 1968. My baby sister was born at that time, so I got timelines. It had to be like 1969 because she was born in 68. So 1969, after Martin Luther King got killed, he got killed in 68. So my mom and my step pops, who was my dad that raised me, Norman Shedrick, they was from the South. Mom's was from Tennessee, Sweetwater, Tennessee. Pops was from Mobile, Alabama. So, they had their little thing going. Moms that came and got me after she found a man that she wanted to be with because my real pops, Joe Johnson, was in Vietnam. from Houston, Texas. He was in Vietnam. So moms had sent me, when I was born in LA, sent me to Tennessee for a while, Sweetwater, place called the Ridge, to stay with my grandmother. Then she brought me back out here, and I had to be reintroduced to her as my mother. So anyway, I'm over here moving around with moms from Colden, in between Vermont and Hoover, Century to 94th and Hobart. So you go wherever your mother go. So I'm over here, and during that time, moms and pops used to have their disagreements at times, but they was all in love with each other passionately. But they used to squabble. It was, argue, fight sometimes, just like any other couple. But anyway, I always wanted to be the man to defend my mom. So one day I seen my pops, Norman Shedrick, my dad, look out the window. And he looked out the window with a certain awe in his eyes, and across the street, it was some Crips across the street. And I heard him tell my mama, come here, look. And they looked across the street. And back then in LA, it was more of a village type concept. It was more family orientated. Neighbors got along. I could be spanked by the neighbors over here on 94th and Hobart. If I'm home late from school, the woman can smack me on the head before I get to my mom's house. So anyway, we looked out for each other. So I guess Pops and him was looking out for the neighbors across the street. So he looked out and he seen some brothers in some leather coats and coveralls with afros. And he said, that must be that new gang called the Crips. And so I looked out the window too, looking up at my mom and parents. And I seen these brothers across the street, and they was like, creased up, G'd up. And they was, afros, and they was looking strong. And I remind you, in this time period, we was dealing with Vietnam. Black Panthers was out of the way. I was one of them kids that was fed by the Panthers. But at the same time, all of a sudden, this Black and Proud movement took on another move, and it was no more Black Panthers, basically. And the brothers on this block, 94th and Hobart, was being taken to Vietnam. I thought I was going to end up in Vietnam. You feel me? But I was a little kid. But anyway, we looked out the window. I looked out. So when I seen them, and I seen the awe that was in my step-pop's eyes, my dad that raised me, who I love, rest in peace, I said, shit, I want to be like them across the street, because I was attracted to strength. So I said, yeah, I want to be like them. And that was like my first introduction to the Crip gang. So eventually these brothers came down the street in a 65 Chevy, white, with moon hubcaps. They jumped out with leather coats and afros on, and they dapped us all, and they said, well, y'all gonna be baby Crips. So I went and ran with that. So we ran with that to Manhattan Elementary School, right over here. So Manhattan is right next to Sportsman Park, which is now Jesse Owens Park. So during that time period, the music was James Brown, Black and Proud, the Jackson 5, all kind of music was going on. But during that time period, you had the baby Crips up here at Manhattan Elementary School. We repping this baby Cripping. I see brothers get beat up, putting trash cans, different little things. So we repping it, chitty chitty bang bang Crips and things. We doing the slow Crip walk before it speeded up. And my cousins from Harlem 30s, Terry Leatherwood and Chris Williams, they're my relatives right there. I used to go over there and stay all night with them. So they used to say, man, we're going to put you on Harlem Godfather Crip. And I was like, all right. So I used to ride around with my cousin Terry, who was a martial artist, and, down, dressed clean, straight solid. And they used to do jewelry licks and stuff. I used to ride in his Thunderbird, and all over there, I hang out with the Harlems, with him and his people. So growing up, I was going to end up being a Harlem 30 Godfather Crip. But during that time, Tookie, Jamel, different ones used to come to Sportsman Park, St. Andrews Park. They come up. Back then, it wasn't no different sets. It was just Crip, West Side Crip. So all I knew was West Side Crip and about the Brims. The only other gang I knew about was the Brims because of my Harlem 30 cousins. So during that time period, that's what we was about, man. Chitty chitty bang bang Crips and thing. But I never got put on officially, because my cousins was like, when you get 13, we're going to jump you in. That was considered to put on back in my days. You feel me, Kev?
Yeah.
So to put on, you had to be officially jumped in. That means socked up by a group of brothers into the set. That's how it was supposed to win. So anyway, moms end up moving again to Carson. So now I'm going to come in with the Carson history. So moms moved to Carson. My little baby sister was born in 68. How I know the timeline, because my little brother was born when we lived in Carson. So we moved to Carson around 69, or maybe 1970. When we first went to Carson, homie, Scottsdale was the place moms and them moved to. Now, my mom's done been through apartments out here in South Central on Century. I was there on Century when President John F. Kennedy got killed, riding a tricycle right there on Century and Fig. But anyway, mom's moved.
Let me stop you for a second to keep your timeline right.
Yeah.
West Side Crips supposedly started in 71. You
Right.
think they started in 70?
Yeah, I think the West Side Crips was actually formatting in the 70s, because before we moved to Carson, it was Crips right here on 94th and Hobart. Afros. And these dudes had to be like 19 or 18, because I was like in the 4th or 5th grade. You follow me?
Right. Okay. So, and you hadn't heard of Inglewood Crips yet?
Hadn't heard of the Inglewood Crips yet. I was too young to move around to find out about them right away. You follow me?
Okay. Now back to you moved to Carson. So you still think you moved to Carson in 70 or maybe 71?
We moved to Carson. We had to move during the time my mom was probably pregnant with my brother. So it had to be in between 70 and 71.
Okay. All right. Now go on with your story.
So when we get to Carson, we in Scottsdale. Scottsdale at the time was a neutral zone with white people from the north to the south, Navy retirement veterans. It was a majority white folks there. It was manicured lawns. It was a nice place, townhouses. Moms and them thought they was moving up in the world. You follow me?
Yeah.
So when we get to Scottsdale, it was like maybe 2 years right after we was there. We was only like the second or third black family in Scottsdale. We moved to Scottsdale North #1. So I remember vividly, it was only like 3, 4 black families lived in Scottsdale at the time when I was there. White folks used to be out on the line. It was an immaculate place. The city kept it up. Back in that day, Carson was not even a city with a city hall, no sheriffs. They had none of that. It was fields, swamps behind Scottsdale. So I remember all that. And so therefore, while we was there, it seemed like the rent must have lowered. White flight took place and Compton moved in. You follow me?
Yep.
So when Compton came in, I'm from LA, my cousin, Big Oops, Michael Davis, take that, remember that, Michael Davis, because I'm gonna bring him back up. He was known as Tall Crip. So he was in Scottsdale. So you had Crips and Pirus in Scottsdale during the time period, at the early time period in 71, 72, they would play football against each other. The Crips from Compton and the Pirus from Compton would come to Scottsdale like it was their playground and kick back, I guess, to relax and get away from whatever was going on in Compton. And I vaguely remember how we used to all be at the same party, and you would hear them every now and then say Piru, Crip, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the Pirus end up taking over the whole Scottsdale. And what happened was Michael Davis, Oops, was 6'7". He was known as Tall Crip. And during that time, you had a few Crips still in Scottsdale holding they own. And Michael Davis, he would go head up with 2, 3 Pirus at one time. So at that time, I still was holding to my chitty chitty bang bang Crips and things. And I went to Catskill Elementary School in I think about the 5th and 6th grade. And that's when I first met a Samoan. And I fought him over something like a sock ball, and I whooped him, but I thought he was a Mexican. I never heard of Samoans. So when I come home, I tell mom I got into it with a big ass Mexican. And mind you, back when I lived in LA over here, it wasn't nothing but maybe 2 Mexicans that went to Manhattan Elementary. All this was black. LA was a black city back in my day when I was out here. So the blacks had the liquor stores. So now back to Carson, the first Samoan I ever met was in elementary school, 5th or 6th grade. And I got into it with him. Got a lot of love for Samoans. My mama investigated and found out it wasn't a Mexican, it was a Samoan. She said Samoan. She couldn't pronounce it right. So anyway, while I'm in Scottsdale, Pirus is in there. Now Puddin', Bodacious, they coming through. Bartender. The homie Michael Berry from Denver Lanes had moved in there. He from LA. So I was always upholding the South Central LA thing. So my cousins from Harlem would come through, visit with me. And I'd be like, man, when y'all gonna put me on, cuz? I was cousin and all that. You know, I was with the Chitty Chitty Bang. I was like, when y'all gonna put me on? They was like, man, your mom done moved you over here, man. And I said, well, who's these niggas? I didn't know who Piru's was. I didn't know nothing about Compton. So they was telling me, man, these is Piru's, homie. And I was like, what? So they was doing a surveillance on it for me. So my cousin Big Stork, who was Chris Williams, and Terry Leatherwood, who we call T-Mac out of Harlem, they was telling me, man, look, man, you might as well go on. Back then, you got to understand what no anti-gang message. Joining the gang, Kev, was like joining a motherfucking football team, your favorite team. So we was gung-ho about joining the gang back then. And we looked up to cats like Tookie, back then Jamel, when he was in right mind. We looked up to these cats. We looked up to all these legendary cats, Mike Kristen, James Miller, Raymond Washington, Taboo, all these other different characters that I could mention, but Craig Munson. So we looked up to all that. So we all was about exercise and workout. So I'm out here in Scottsdale. All of a sudden, I'm going to school with these brothers. I'm fighting some of them, you know, they Pirus, they coming at me. I'm fighting them. We play basketball, football together, but we fighting. I'm cousin, they blood, and they telling me, man, you got to come on and roll with us, man, and whoop, whoop, whoop. So my cousins say, man, you might as well go on and roll with them niggas, man, because you're going to end up getting killed out here, man. There's too many of them out here, and we know how you get down. So I was like, fuck it, man. So after that, I started hanging with them brothers from Scottsdale Pirus when they was super deep from the north to the south, all black. Michael Davis moved out, Big Oops, moved to Stevenson Village, took that over, the Davis family, them my cousins, and they put it down to Crippin over there in Stevenson Village. So I'm over here in Scottsdale going to Wilmington Junior High now. And while I'm going to Wilmington Junior High, I run into Wee Moss's, East Side Payne, which is Ghost Town. And, you know, it's different things going on over in that area. So now through three alleyways, we got to walk. The Mexicans and the white boys that was out of school want to stab us. So I go back to Scottsdale. I'm laying up, kicking back in the park. The homie Bodacious say, look, man, Big Bodacious, Larry Cooper from Westside Piru, the original Piru. He say, look, he say, man, look, my brother Puddin', he Piru. Talking about Sylvester Scott, he Piru. He said, I couldn't go against him. He said, look, man, I came from Mona Park Crip. He said, you came over from 94th and Hobart, from Westside Crip. I said, yeah. He said, did you get jumped in physically? And I said, nah. He said, well, you could come on over, man. He said, I'm going to arrange it where you get jumped into the Pirus. So I was like, all right, man. And back then, Bodacious was a big old nigga, big like Tookie, dark skin. He had them hands. He told me Tookie had hands. He said Jamel didn't have the hands like Tookie. He knocked out Jamel in Scottsdale at a party one time. But he said Tookie definitely had the hands. And so he was lacing me about all the gang shit. So mind you, during that time period, man, I just want to go one more back one time. Before I ever got into a gang, homie, I wanted to be like any other person, a police, a fireman, all that shit. But mom said the police is treating our people bad. So I said, fuck the police. And that was the end of that. So I was looking forward to being in a gang back in the day. So Big Bodacious, he went on and talked to me about the Piru car and about what Piru represent, powerful, indestructible, revengefully united. So I was like, you know what? I said, man, I'm game. During that time, I was still with the cousin, chitty chitty bang banging. So one day, they sent the little dudes that I was hanging out with, Booby, Mr. Herman Cashborn, who I still cool with right now to this day. Skinny Tony, Fat Black, rest in peace. Bubba, Linwood, yeah. And I used to run with Baby Lendrix too. That was one of my main homies from 6th grade on. But anyway, he sent them up to Carnegie because by that time, moms done moved again, Kev. She done moved us to the Cabbage Patch, an area where it was nothing but cabbage fields.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there, Keith. So we'll pick back up at the Cabbage Patch.
Right.
So what year did Scottsdale Piru come out? Because it wasn't really clear. And who were the founders of Scottsdale?
Okay, Scottsdale Pirus came out in like 70, I would have to say 72. Scottsdale Pirus had to be formulated by 72, no later than 73. And the founders of Scottsdale Pirus had to be the homies from Westside Pirus, which is Larry Cooper, who was Bodacious Big Pudding's brother. And Larry Cooper is the big brother to Pudding. And he always said, Pudding like to shoot a motherfucker. I like to beat a motherfucker to death. So Larry Cooper, yeah, Bodacious, that's my big homie. So yeah, he used to say that. And anyway, I would have to say that they put the Pirus in the Scottsdale. Oh, and Black Pookie from Ludus Park, who became Scottsdale Piru. He came from Ludus Park. He locked up right now. That was another one of my homies. They brought the Piru, and Ludus Park brothers and Westside Pirus brought the Piru into Scottsdale. Not one individual, but a group of individuals. You follow me?
Gotcha.
And I have to mention Michael Berry, who's an OG from Denver Lanes, a big 444 OG. He locked up right now, but Michael Berry bought the blood into Scottsdale from Denver Lane. During that time, Denver Lanes was, they was known already. They was the Denver boys, Denver Lanes. You had the Athens Park boys. So I'm gonna get into all that in a minute. But anyway, that's who basically brought the Piru into Scottsdale. Larry Cooper, Big Bodacious. Puddin used to come over there, jump out and walk through, jump out of his lowrider, walk through or whatever, and represent himself. But at the same time, Bartender used to come over from Ludus Park, Black Pookie. Oh, and Turtle, Big Turtle brought the Piru into Scottsdale. He's another triple OG homie of mine, Big Turtle. He's still living. Anyway, they brought the Piru, Big Turtle from Ludus Park. And they brought the Piru into Scottsdale. And Scottsdale went straight Piru, north and south. And during that time period, the only Samoans that I knew of was the ones that had moved over by Scott Park. And we initially clashed with the Samoans because it was a cultural difference. And there was no gang banging Samoans at that time period. The Samoans began to gang bang after clashing with us in Scottsdale. Scottsdale was known as a major Piru set in Carson. And then you had Centerview down the way, but Centerview was like borderline Gardena and Compton, just like Stevenson Village was borderline Compton. So Scottsdale was like one of your first major Piru gangs in Carson that was well established and would attack the block Crips, who was in Delano, which they were brought in by Big Kelsey and Don, Big Drag, and the Conway family. Them was block Crips, CZ, different ones. I know a lot of them personally. So that was who was in Delano. They was Delano block Crips. They was the only major Crip gang in Carson. They was Delano block Crips before the East Coast 190 Crips came about, which that came about. I'll get to that a little later. I was in class with Bull Scott, Randy Scott, that's his name. We used to be in classmates at Banning High School and Mac and different ones. But anyway, back to the Dales. Scottsdale had to have started being Piru about in 72, between 72 and 73.
Who from Westside Piru lived in Scottsdale?
From Compton, Westside Piru?
Yeah.
Oh, that was Larry Cooper, Bodacious.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get to Cabbage Patch, one more question. When you lived on the West Side, did you know Kelsey that later became an East Coast?
Big Kelsey? Big Kelsey?
Yes. Yes.
You talking about, Big Kelsey. I never lived in Delano. You talking about the West Side?
Carson, no.
Oh, you talking about
when you lived on the West Side in LA by Sportsman Park?
When I lived on the West Side in LA, I didn't know nothing about Kelsey at that time.
All right. All right. Now what year did you move to Cabbage Patch?
We moved to Cabbage Patch. My brother was born in 71 while we lived in Scottsdale. We moved to Cabbage Patch. It had to be like around 70, 74 because I was in junior high school at the time. So it had to be like 74. I was in the 7th grade or the 8th grade. I think because 75 is when we actually started the Pirus in the Cabbage Patch. You follow me? So it had to be like 74 or 75. I'm 57, so I'm trying to put it to you as close as I could get it. You got it?
Yeah, I got it. You're doing good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so while I'm over in the Cabbage Patch, what's going on over there? Cabbage Patch was mostly a lot of families, a lot of sports families, people with sports players, the Cole family, the Williams, Big Reggie Williams, Devolani Hamlin family. Uh, it was the Andrew family. It was a lot of sports. It was a lot of families over there, family orientated community. And there was a lot of fields around there called, it was cabbage fields. The farmers, the Mexican farmers was growing cabbages over there. Rows of it off of 215th and Prairie Street, where now it's apartments and houses and all that. So anyway, that's where it got its name as far as the cabbages. So anyway, when I moved over there, it was basically a neutral zone. It wasn't no cripping over there, wasn't no blooding over there, no Pirus over there. So what happened was, it was only Pirus over there. Let me take that back. It was Ludus Park Pirus, Big Tommy Duncan, a big homie to me. And then his brother Aaron Duncan was in my same peer group, who was just another Piru to me, but they was from Ludus Park, and Clyde and Milton. And these was like the only 4 Pirus that was official Pirus living over in the Cabbage Patch area. The rest of the Cabbage Patch people that lived over there that was families, they were all just basically neutral. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the only gang that was established at that time in the Cabbage Patch was a Mexican gang called La Loma, which was a barrio that had been there since the like 60s. You follow me? So La Loma is an old veterano clique, and they got the low riders and all that, they old veteranos, they La Loma. So I say it like that because I got a lot of respect for them too, because they've been there, they've been established a long time. And we basically moved in amongst them. And then eventually blacks just start moving in majorly. And we became so much in numbers to where we was able to establish our thing. So while I'm over there, I became the 5th official Piru. But I wasn't made official until finally when Bodacious sent the little homies that I mentioned earlier up to Carnegie Junior High. There was a meeting in Scottsdale with Troy Nelson from Scottsdale Piru, another reputable legendary OG from Scottsdale, rest in peace. Bodacious called him his little brother. Troy Nelson, Fat Black, Booby, Skinny Tony, and all of them. Troy questioned me about the Cabbage Patch, because I should still go back and hang out in Scottsdale. He said, what's going on over there in that area? We heard them niggas is cripping over there. And I said, nah. I said, the block Crips come over there and party at Dolphin Park in different house parties. And then at the end of the party, they beat up on the older niggas who was non-affiliates. Donald Moore used to DJ parties up in the Cabbage Patch. So the Cabbage Patch had a lot of beautiful women, and Delano had a lot of women. So they get together and have their house party. This is back when they still had house parties. You follow me?
Yeah.
But at the end of the house party, the block Crips would take off on the dudes that's standing around and sock them up and intimidate them. You follow me? Because during that time, the Crips had the numbers and they had the aggression. And, knowing the history of LA Cripping, the leather coat was the thing back in the day for us. So the Crips was aggressive. So anyway, them Patch brothers that was over there that was already in the Cabbage Patch, they began to grow like kind of angry about the Crips rushing them like that at the end of the parties and disrespecting them in front of the girls out there. You follow what I'm saying? You hear me? Can you hear me, Kev?
Yeah, I hear you. What, you got a plane going overhead?
Yeah, that was a plane that went over. You heard it?
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, we in that pathway, cause Century right up the way. But anyway, so what happened was Troy Nelson questioned me like, what's up with you, man? You go back to that cripping, or you still with this Piru? And I said, man, check this out, man. I'm Piru, man, like that. But you know what it is, but I hadn't been made official yet. So Bodacious sent them up to Carnegie. I stepped out, they jumped me. I fought like 8 or 9 of them. And the word was, this is how it was back then, Kev. The word was, hey, man, I said, well, what's happening, cuz? This is after I got jumped in, because, I had hands. I'm a fighter, Kev. So I was like squabbling with 8 or 9 brothers. And I was like, what's happening, cuz? They said, we don't say cuz no more. We say blood. I said, what? I said, yeah, you say blood, homie. I said, well, what's happening? They said, yeah, man, you don't say that chitty chitty bang bang no more. I said, well, what I say? What I replace it with? I'm in the 7th grade at the time when they giving me this. So I say, shit, they say, you say rose are red, violets are blue. You was a Crip, now you're East Side Piru. Then they hugged me, kissed me on the cheek. So in my mind, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna lead this. I said, because I had the Crip aggression in me. So I banged like a Crip mentally. So therefore, I was never intimidated by other Crips because I came from that. So my mentality was like, you know, I stayed with the aggression. So I was like the game banger. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but what year was that when you was in 7th grade when you got jumped in?
75.
Okay.
1975.
Gotcha.
And from that time forward, I began to tell the homies from Scottsdale Piru and the West Side Pirus, bodation them, I need y'all to back me to get the rest of these niggas jumped in over here in the Cabbage Patch. Because the dudes that was from Ludus Park Piru, they wasn't moving as fast as me because they was older than me. And I saw the need. Aaron Duncan saw the need too, but you know, for some reason he wasn't moving as fast as I was to recruit a lot of homies. So we butted heads on that tip to a certain degree because you had in the Cabbage Patch, you had like a little diversity. You had some white boys over there. You had some Asians and Samoans. You had Filipinos, but majority was black at that time. And then Mexican was the major majority. So what happened was in the 7th grade, I began to orchestrate and tell the homies from Scottsdale Piru when they was deep in their heyday, come up to Carnegie and jump these niggas that's younger. Because the other ones, the older ones, they already leery of the block Crips and they athletes anyway. So we ain't fucking with them. They older. Let them go on and do what they do. So we took all the junior high school kids from 7th grade, 8th and 9th and start socking them up every time they got out of school on a Friday specifically and chasing them home. And they would come to me and say, man, what's up, man? Why them niggas keep coming up here socking us up? And I say, man, y'all need to turn Piru. That was all orchestrated. You follow what I'm saying, Kev?
Yeah. So would you say that was from your prior Crip aggression or?
Yeah, that was the aggression that I already had in me coming from South Central LA. You follow me? So I already knew how to gang bang as far as because my cousins from Harlem 30s. You follow me?
Right.
You know, I had no intentions of becoming a 9-0 because that wasn't around back then. And it was just West Side Cripping. So my mentality was I'm a West Side Crip and my cousin was gonna put me on Harlem 30 Crip. So my gang banging mentality was all I knew about was Brims and Crips. Brims was before, to me, from my side of the fence, was before any other gang out here. Brims was even before the Crips because my cousins told me from Harlem about the Brims. And they said the Brims had manual arts and they controlled all that. Brims wasn't at that time. Brims didn't call themselves Bloods. They was just LA Brims. And they said the word blood like any other brother said blood. Even your first earliest Crips said blood. Blood had no gang terminology until they ended up at YTS like Babalu talking about. And then, but blood had been being said by most inner city blacks. And then that's when the Crips went on and start saying cuz. I guess that differentiate from those that said blood because most of the Bloods was outnumbered by the Crips. During that time period, the Crips was swarming the whole city and making a name for themselves, you know. And you already know about the history of Robert Ballou and Big Country from Brims when Big Country got killed. That was the first disrespect of a funeral. So the Brims was really the actual first ones that the Crips probably had to battle, you know, as far as, and the chain gang, which became the families. So anyway, the Pirus come into it just a little tad bit right after that, probably due to Babalu and them moving over there into Piru territory. But the Pirus was around as Piru boys before they became gang. You follow what I'm saying?
Right. Now, earlier you said when you first moved over there, that a few people were saying Piru Crip.
Right. Right.
Was that a actual, you know, was it an alliance or was the Pirus Crips?
It was alliance. Okay. It was an alliance. They was from Crip and the ones that was Piru, and it was just say Piru Crip as the show an alliance, especially in the party scene with the women around or the roller skating. You know, it was just letting we Piru, they Crip. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was a respect. It was a love there. Like, it was like, I gotta understand back in them days that self-hatred didn't really set in on us until after certain, because we was proud to be black back then. You got to understand, Muhammad Ali was around, James Brown. When I went to Manhattan Elementary, we was like, we whooping everybody. That's how we thought as black young men. We wasn't on no, like self-hatred. You know, it was love at the Sportsman Park. Wasn't no gang chasing, intimidating nobody at Sportsman Park, the kiddie pool, all that. You know, Big Tookie was loved. When we would see Tookie as kids, we'd be like, oh, that's Tookie, that's Tookie. Everybody go over there and he'd be flexing for the youngsters. And we loved it, man. Tookie and Jamel, they flexing. We loved all that, man. We loved our black people back in them days, man, before it got serious with the gunplay, man. You know, and so basically it was still that kind of love within us, even though we were starting to lose it. It started to be lost when brothers started bringing guns to the fights, you know, because back in our day, to be able to go head up was a manhood thing, a rite of passage. And so, you know, basically, you know, I would say Babalu and them a lot older than me, only a little bit. I come right behind them. It was my era that really started bringing guns to school. You know, I remember bringing a 38 to high school in the 10th grade. But before that, it was more, we admired brothers that can throw them hands, like my cousin Big Oops. He threw them hands. Bodacious threw them hands. So Tookie threw them hands. So we was all admiring brothers that was able to throw them hands, not only represent where they from, but could you throw them hands? You follow me?
Did you ever find out who was in that white Chevy that pulled up on y'all?
No, I never found out. I was too young.
All right, what was the original borders for Scottsdale when you moved? And Scottsdale's on the east side of Carson, right?
Right. It was on the east side. The borders was the fence. The gate. Scottsdale was one way in, one way out. It was all surrounded by that gate. That was the border.
And what was the borders for Cabbage Patch?
Cabbage Patch was from 213th to Carson Street. I mean to 220th Street. Carson Street runs straight through the middle. 213th run off of Avalon, 213th. But basically the real border was behind the 405 freeway. Once you cross under that San Diego 405 freeway, which is, you're going to run into Prairie Street. Right there, 215th and Prairie begins the Cabbage Patch as far as official border. You follow what I'm saying? Mm. And from 213th over to 220th Street, that's the borders. And Wilmington Street, Wilmington right there, that's our borders. We in between Wilmington and Prairie Street.
So, right? Let's go back to what year was Cabbage Patch established?
As far as Cabbage Patch, when it became a Piru gang, because the neutral, it wasn't known as no gang when I first moved over there. So when it became actually the Piru gang, as far as Piru Gangsters, that's what we named it. And I was one of the ones that also put the gangster in there because I came from LA, South Central. So I wanted to be different from Compton in that way. I said, well, we're going to be gangsters. So we said we East Side Patch. We wouldn't even say Cabbage. Cabbage at that time, it was a diss word to us. So my age group, like I got it tattooed on my chest, is East Side Patch Piru Gangsters. So we didn't even call it the Cabbage Patch back then, us that, you know, put the Pirus over there. So when we put it over there, we put it over there on 220th and Vera Street. We had a party right there on that corner at that house. Bobby McCormick used to live there, and we hung red rags from the ceiling. And we told our homegirls who intermingled with the Delano block Crips to tell them to come to the party. So when they came to the party, they had a leader named Big Drag, and there was a lot more of them. And during this time period, you know, Sherm was the drug that some of the gang members would smoke, you know, the wet or the PCP. So anyway, we had the West Side Pirus over there too. So we had lowriders and cars all around the block. We told them to come after the block Crips get there. So the block Crips thought it was as usual. They gonna party and then they gonna kick some ass at the end of the party. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they came up in the party, they looking around, they partying, and then all of a sudden they look up and they say, oh, and cuz these niggas went blood. They looking around. They didn't realize it at first while they was in there partying, had their heads down, dancing and slow Crip walking. The Crip walk was slow back then, two-stepping. So when they looked up, that's when they realized they was in a trap situation. You follow me?
Yeah.
and Pirus was all outside waiting on them. The West Side Pirus, the Scottsdale Pirus, the homegirls was in the house. Some of the homies was inside the house. We done went outside the house. Then the homies cut the lights on, said, no more Crips is allowed over here. This is a Piru official territory. That was given that announcement. And back then we wasn't so quick to want to kill our own. So we permitted the Block Crips to walk out of there and walk back to their cars because we wanted them to take the message back over to their homies because all of them didn't come. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we wanted them to take the message back to Delano Block Crip that this is Piru territory. So only a few of them might have got socked up that night, but most of them was able to walk back to their cars, get back in their 6.5, 6.4s or whatever. Back then, them cars was cheap. You could buy them cars. We was buying them lowriders for like $500, $600, $700 and then fix them up. So Chevys was cheap back then. So anyway, they went on back, and that was the initial, you know, of East Side Patch Piru Gangsters. And we put the gangster on it. We let the Crips know. Because see, back then you had to let other gangs know who your gang was and what y'all stand for and what, you know, you had to let them know. And you had to let them know who y'all was. You feel me? Yeah. And whoever decide to smash you out, they gonna try to smash you out. You just started. So they trying to smash. So they said, oh, okay, so yeah, this East Side Patch Piru Gangster. I'm Keith Peddler. Other homies, some homies had their first name with their gang name. So they went on back, and that began our having confrontations with them at Carson High, which is where I went first, and Banning High School. These was black schools with Samoans in the mix, so a few whites and Asians, but majority black. And both teams was like city championship teams back in them days before it went racial, as far as Banning High with the Weemas and the East Side Payne Ghost Town Bloods. But other than that, the Cabbage Patch, East Side Patch was established as a Piru set in 1975.
1975. I got you, 1975.
Okay.
When did you first hear of Scott Park?
Scott Park, I heard of Scott Park when I was in Scottsdale. It wasn't no Scott Park Pirus or nothing. It was just, we went up there to play sports. Scott Park was right by Catskill Elementary. And there was a lot of Mexicans that lived over there, illegal Mexicans. They lived around Scott Park. Then the Samoans came in. And a few times the blacks from Scottsdale and the Samoans got into it. And the Samoans would chase the blacks back to Scottsdale and stop at the gate. Sometimes they come in, and then the blacks would fight with the Samoans, but they would be like, them some big ass motherfuckers. And then one day, all that changed when the homie Billy Minor from the East Side Cabbage Patch, when Billy Minor got into it with Piru, who was a big old Uso up at Banning High. And Billy Minor whooped him, got inside on him and got to chunking him with him and dropped him. And basically it was like, brothers like lost their leeriness of this, like, man, fuck it, we get down with them. And then Big Bodacious would show up at the Scottsdale Theater and check them. We said, we got somebody big for y'all. So Bodacious would come because a Samoan would try to throw their weight around at the Scottsdale movie theater. So we brought Bodacious. He's sitting in the shadows, and, you know, in the movie theater, walk in is dark. So Samoan was talking shit to a bunch of blacks. Big Bodacious said, Big Bodacious said, fuck you. Samoan told everybody, shut the fuck up. Big Bodacious said, you shut the fuck up. So Puddin' Brother stood up. He about 6'4", 6'5", he big as a motherfucker, 20-inch arms, 19-inch arms. Samoan bowed that shit down. Once we saw that, we was like, oh, okay, we could get at him. And then the Mexicans would try to bust on the Samoans, so they knew they wasn't finna ride with the Mexicans. So the Samoans back then, their generation, the youngsters, they began to adopt to blood mentality, Piru mentality. And I guess they said, fuck it, we might as well join in with the Pirus over here. You follow what I'm saying?
When do you remember the Pirus making it to the west side of Carson?
Well, I'm gonna give you the history like this, with all due respect to the Usos. There was no West Side Piru yet. There wasn't no Scott Park Piru yet. The only Piru that I knew that was Samoan was Rob DeVoe, young man. And he was put on by us from the East Side Patch Piru Gangsters. And Rob DeVoe would hang amongst blacks like he was black. He wasn't your average Samoan size. He was just basically the size of the average black man. You know, he was probably your size. He wasn't no like super big Samoan. So he would hang amongst us, and he got jumped in, and he would fight with us, then go bang with us. And Rob would go hang out in Ludus Park. He'd go with Aaron Duncan. They go out, and Rob would hang out with the best of the Piru anywhere. And he went to the blood module. He never tried to cling to his culture like that. He represented being a Samoan, but he was always like, he was into black culture, and he basically was like a black Samoan. He was like one of the only Samoans I knew of that could be on the blood module back in the day, and strong. And he had a voice, he could sing. His family was musical. And he used to sing the Bloods to sleep up on the blood module with the Smokey Robinson. You think Smokey was locked up. But Rob DeVoe, young man, that's our homie. We didn't see no colors with him. We didn't see him as a Samoan. We saw him as a black man, because he carried himself like a brother and dated nothing but sisters mostly, and had babies by him and put in major work. So young man, Rob DeVoe, rest in peace, was representing first out the gate to us as a Piru and with the business. And the Crips knew him, the East Coast Crips, and certain Crips from Compton, because every now and then we get into it because Carson ain't but like 10 minutes from Compton. So Santana blocks come to the Carson Mall. We get into it with them. It'll be a fight or jumping or whatever. Every now and then they come through and shoot. We go over there, but we couldn't keep the war up because we at a distance. So the main war we had was with Block Crips, Delano Block Crips, and which was West Side Delano Block, and then you had the East Coasters came in through Bull Scott. They came from LA, and Big Bull, which was Randy Scott's brother, Big Bull, he was from East Side. He got killed in LA, but he was one of the original authentic Crips. Big Bull, he got killed at a liquor store by a liquor store owner. But anyway, I got a lot of respect for the Scott family because they knew I was from LA, they was from LA. So we had a certain type of camaraderie privately amongst ourselves that if we saw each other somewhere and one of our gangs was deep finna try to do something to one of us, we would probably like give him a pass. You follow me? I gave Dennis Scott a pass for one of my homies wanted to get at him. So they wanted to gun him down. I said, nah, that's one of the Scotts. Told Dennis to get on up out of here. So at the end of the day, I knew gang banging was kind of foolish too because of my cousins being from Shotgun Crip. Had to save Rod Whitehead and Moses. They was OGs from Shotgun Crip, got caught in Dolphin Park. One of their homies running his mouth, and then the homies surrounded them, three of them with guns ready to knock him down. And they said, man, we got a cousin from over here. And they came and got me. My homies came and got me. I jumped in my 6'4", went up to Dolphin Park, went through the crowd and grabbed them. I said, oh, this is my family. So some of my homies from Piru Gangster would get mad at me like, oh, man, you showing favoritism. Nah, homie, it's just certain homies, man. It's my family. I can't let y'all knock them down. You follow what I'm saying?
Right.
So
right,
it was just realistically, man. I got first cousins from Shotgun Crip. So I know Shiphead, different ones out there, but my cousins from Shotgun, from Harlem, and Ice Mike and Del Dog, rest in peace, Del Dog, rest in peace. They my family on my real dad's side, Joe Johnson, out of Houston, Texas. So I understood that the gang banging was getting out of control even way back then. I used to wonder why the fuck we fighting and killing each other. So at the end of the day, I became a leader of the East Side Patch Piru Gangsters, and Aaron Duncan was a leader. We each had our crews, Tommy Duncan was like a big homie. And we all loved Tommy. And then we had certain people over there that was like just family orientated, like Jerry Martinez. These was parents, fathers that we respected. We respected our elders in our communities back in the day. And sometimes they would join in to assist us in the gang war because their houses was getting shot up. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would join in and we all be up and down 220th Street strapped up waiting on the East Coast 190 Crips or the West Side Block Crips to come through because Delano was such a big ass hood. They had so many people in that hood. They had people going to Carson High, Banning High. That's how deep they were. You follow me?
Yeah. When did we go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So we was like back in the day, man, to be a Piru blood in Carson, you was outnumbered. you was definitely outnumbered. Going to Carson High, it could be like 10 of y'all, and you look over at the bleachers, it's 100 of them. We was the odd man out, with the females laughing at us sometimes. Like, what's wrong with them? But we took it like this: we're gonna be the few, the proud, the strong. So we adopted the saying of the Marines: we the few, the proud, the strong. You know, we're gonna be Pirus to the finish line. So we would take that fight, jumping or whatever. Back then, you had to fight 5 or 6 Crips by yourself. Your homie fighting 5 or 6 right here. That's how it was. So it wasn't easy just to be a blood or a Piru back in them days in Carson and going to Carson High or Banning High School. So when the homies that I put on into the Pirus and the Cabbage Patch, they was at Banning. They was telling me, man, get kicked out and come to Banning so you can, you know, help us with this, man, so we could push our set. Cause I was still over there with the Scottsdale Pirus at Carson High. They was going to Carson High. And the Delano block had Carson High, and the East Coast 190s had Banning. And it was like both of them from Delano. And it was like, okay, man, I'm gonna get kicked out. I get kicked out for fighting, and I end up at Banning. So when I get to Banning, back then, you know, colors wasn't really a thing. Just the red rag or the blue rag symbolized where you was from in Carson. So that bandana is what counted, and how you wore it and how you dressed. So I checked in school with a blue khaki suit creased up, had the red rag on me, you know, and had the derby, had the perm. Back then we wearing perms, called them Lord Jesuses. Brothers was unconscious, we didn't know. So we trying to be like Superfly. So, you know, I got the perm, the earring. So we like, you know, in the left ear. So with the cane, you could go to school dressed how you want back then. Wasn't no rules to what you know, as far as the school itself telling you what you could wear or not wear. You follow me?
Yeah.
So this was how it really went down for me. When I checked in at Banning High School, I told the homies where the Crips at. They said they up in the bleachers right now. You know, it's lunchtime, so I checked. I would pose. Everybody had it back then. We had to be in the game back then. You had to have your clothes creased right. As far as you had to have a look, it was your image that counted, and your strength had to be there. You know, remember back then it wasn't no skinny jeans. It wasn't no drag queens. It wasn't no faggotry. Niggas wasn't going for none of that bitch shit. You feel me?
Yeah.
It was all alpha male shit. You know, it was like, you know, like Tookie, Jamel, Mike Christian, Taboo from Athens, Big Chest Larry, and Ray Voice from Bounty Hunter, Bodacious. These was alpha male types. Raymond Washington. So we alpha males. So in our era, we alpha males. You know, AC Babalu and them. So our mentality was like, you know, get them up. So we standing there. So I'm looking at the Crips. They on the bleachers. I'm standing there with the cane, with the lokes on. Back then we called these lokes. And Loke was a part of the blood word. You know, Pirus and Bloods used the word Loke before the Crips got it. And at the time, you know, I'm looking up at them. They looking down on me like, who's that nigga? So then I tell the homies, you know, now come on, where y'all be kicking it at Banning High? They told me where they kicking in the hallway. I said, as soon as the Crips come in, we gonna rush them. They said, what? Yeah, we gonna rush their numbers, homie, like pit bulls out the gate. You know, see, I did that because I knew how to get at the Crips, because I knew how savage the Crips was in LA. So I knew what it would take to do it in Carson. And Wilmington is where Banning High School set. So I said, as soon as they walk through the door, homie, just follow my lead. So as soon as they walk through, I take off, they take off. So that gave them from the Cabbage Patch Pirus a little more bodaciousness. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And from then on, it was on. We was banging, and I'm fighting them. We doing our thing. And back then it was fun and dangerous at the same time. We bringing 151 Bacardi to our lockers, and I'm bringing 38s, putting them in the lockers. And we just go to class just to check in for our parents. But we in class, but we ditching class and go to the bathroom to shoot dice. You know, I used to shoot dice with James, Lil James from Delamo, different ones, you know. It'd be breaks in the game banging scene. Brothers want to shoot dice, make money. And sometimes homies would get into it with the cousin and blood and over the dice, over the money. And niggas be like, well, let's go head up. You know, fuck the gunplay, let's go head up. And niggas would make a circle, and a Crip would get in the middle, a blood would get in, a Piru would get in the middle. and go head up. And back then, Pirus were Bloods. They was labeled as Bloods, and Crips took off on them like they was Bloods. If a Crips, the real Crips saw you, they at you. Wasn't no plan. They was at you on sight. It was no plan.
Did all Pirus and Carson function together?
During that time period, we did. During that time, it was mostly just black. It was Pirus from Scottsdale and the Cabbage Patch. And then Rob DeVoe's family, when they moved over to the west side, after a while, because let me go back. The Samoans on the east side, the Alo family, the Simi family, they were reputable. Straight up. They was not to be taken lightly. They was down. And they rolled with us when we got into it with the East Coast Crips or the Block Crips, especially at them big old football games. Harry Alo would join in with us, picking up Crips from throwing them. You know, he was a big old buff Samoan that knew martial arts, and he rolled with us. Michael Alo played football for Banning High School. He rolled with us because him and Danny Andrews was friends. They lived behind, Michael Alo and them lived behind Dolphin Park. Michael Alo, rest in peace. Harry Alo, rest in peace. Them was like our brothers. Them was Usos that was like our brothers in the Cabbage Patch. The Simi family, Waikiki Simi, you know, nothing but love for them. They was on the east side. And during that time, it was just east side patch Piru gangsters. And La Lomas was there. And we had La Lomas, some of them would join in with us. And we would join in with them against their enemy, which was Weemas or whoever came through trying to bust on them. Whenever they told us we had a green light to get at a Mexican gang, we would do it. And whenever we told them we needed them, we give them the green light to assist us because our hood was so small to assist us with the Crip gangs. So then eventually what happened through Mexican dating black, kids was born. So you had some homies that was mixed with black and Mexican that would join the Pirus and get jumped in and rep the Pirus. And you had some homies that would join La Loma. So the hood was like intermingled like that sometimes. So you had homies that was like, you know, they was Sangria, Piru, Vario La Loma, Ranfla. So you had that mix in there sometimes. But the viciousness combined made our hood stand together. So we basically, after that, before the Mexican Mafia issued a decree on racial things, we was basically cooling together. La Loma still get along with the patch, but basically, you know, the Pirus is a black gang, always have been in Carson, you know, Centerview Piru, Scottsdale Piru, Eastside Patch Piru, you know, and then Samoans began to grow in numbers and they began to push their weight. The West Side Pirus, Grace Avenue, mixture of Asians and blacks, and then Scott Park Pirus. So the Samoans, the Usos began to do their thing, but they know more about their own personal history. I know more about before they came about. I'm just speaking on who was Piruing from the Samoan side before West Side Piru. And that was Rob DeVoe, young man, made official, jumped in. And then associates was Harry Alo, Michael Alo, and the Simi, Waikiki Simi, them was rolling with us too, because they all lived on the east side. So all of that took place. Basically, like I said, we was already going forward. And with Compton, the West Side Pirus, well, of course, I'm over there with Bodacious, you know, go to his mama's house right there on Piru Street, Larry Cooper. That's Puddin' Mama. So anybody know about the Pirus out of West Side, they black out of Compton.
Was young man related to the Booyah tribe?
Yeah, he was a DeVoe.
Okay.
He was related to Ted DeVoe. Ted DeVoe lived on the east side too at the time, but Ted DeVoe wasn't gang banging at that time. Young man was gang banging. He let him out.
Okay, and what can you tell me about waterfront Pirus?
Oh, waterfront Pirus, man, they was like, they lived in the projects, you know. But before I met waterfront, it was East Side Paynes on the east side of Wilmington, Ghost Town, Big Lawan, Moto, Fox, the Hodge family, you know, the Sanders, Big Quack, Donald Sanders, his brother Renee Sanders. You know, it was a lot of we used to party with them, man. Lynn Harper, I went to school with Lynn Harper at Wilmington Junior High. And you know, It was a lot of different brothers. I can't remember everybody because I did a lot of Sherm back in the day. But yeah, you know, that was what was the thing. But basically, yeah, Waterfronts was already, they was on the scene after the fact. They wasn't on the scene before Scottsdale Piru's. No. Eastside Payne was already on the scene, and they confronted Scottsdale. Big Moto came to Scottsdale and announced himself, you know, from being from Eastside Payne. And he was a big old buff dude, you know, one of them Tookie type cats. And he came up in Scottsdale Park, and the homies looking like, who the fuck is that? And Black Pookie said, man, who the fuck? They said, that's that nigga Moto. So the homies surrounded him, and they was like, where you from? And he was like, I'm Moto. I'm from Eastside Payne, and I'm gonna give you pain. And he started fighting. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we got introduced to the Eastside Paynes on that level. You know, they wanted to let you know that they was in Wilmington, and they was in an area called Ghost Town. And we used to go party with them. The Patch did once they was established. Scottsdale didn't do a lot of partying with the Payne boys, but the Patch did. We used to go over there and party with them. Me and my homie Bullhead, you know. So me and Rodney jumped in the homie Bullhead, the homie Darren, you know, Mr. D. He cool. And he became one of the first millionaires in the street game, but Bullhead was a rider. And he started up another war between us and Gladwick, the Wick gang, him and Terry Scroggins over this broad. But anyway, you know, the Wick gang gave us a run for our money. Black Wayne, Co-Ride, what's the other cat named? Terry Scroggins. And there's a host of them, you know. They caught me slipping one time at the Carson Mall. You know, I got down with all 8 of them. I dropped Terry Scroggins. You know, they thought I was going to be fearful of something. I'm like, man, I'm from South Central LA. You know, I mean, my uncle taught me to stand up. You know, I didn't say that to them. I was already laced by my uncle Frank Lenore, Donnell, who's original Magic Wheels biker. So he was from Tennessee, but he come out here back in the 60s. So I watched him handle his business on Century and Fig, through a liquor store window. And he would say, Tennessee tidy, all ass, no body. You know, in other words, talk is cheap. You feel me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of our gambling sayings at the crap table in Vegas.
Okay.
Hey, what can you tell me about the 5 to the 9 gang?
The 5 to the 9 gang.
135s.
Oh,
and the Centerviews.
Oh yeah, they went to Gardena. I got kicked out of all 3 high schools myself, so I ended up at Gardena. That's when I was introduced to the 135s. You know, I was before I got kicked out of Banning, a dude named Nut, one of they OGs named Nut, came to Banning because he got kicked out of Gardena for gang banging. Back then, you get kicked out of schools for gang banging. So when I went to I was at Banning first and Nut told me about his hood 135. And he was a short dude, but he ran with Black Roderick and all that. And back then, and Jesse. So when I went to Gardena, the 135s would get into it they was into it with the 135 Piru was into it with the Shotgun Crips and the Paybacks, mostly Shotgun Crips. And my cousin was from Shotgun during that time, named Marcus. And was it the Centerviews? Yeah, it was either the Centerviews or the 135s talking about, we gonna jump this nigga named Marcus. And I was like, what? And I'm sharing a locker with my first cousin. And I was like, and he was like, him and Shiphead was real tight. And I was like, man, what locker? What locker you talking about, John? He said, his locker right here. So I'm hanging with I think at that time I was hanging with the Centerview Pirus or it was the 135s or a mixture of both. So we go to this locker waiting on Marcus to come to the locker. I tell him, man, it's my relative though. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I said, I can't let y'all get at my relative. Oh, there you go, Peddler. I said, nah, homie. I ain't finna be responsible or nothing happening to him, man. I can't look at my own relative in a casket knowing that I was allowed y'all to get off on my cousin. So you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I stopped that right then, but then I got at my cousin and told him we need to get out this gang shit and go in and play sports, homie.
I meant to ask you, where your name come from?
My street name, Peddler. It's funny, I'm glad you asked that. Before my name became Peddler, you know, just in LA, I was just known as Keith. And but when I got to Scottsdale, I was known as Flashlight because I had a silver tooth. I had broke half my tooth at Manhattan Elementary School. You follow me?
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, man. Yeah, so I'm in Scottsdale, and back then Parliament Funkadelic and all that was out. We consider ourselves Funketeer. So the homie Linwood and different ones had like flashlight because of the silver tooth I had. So I told moms we got to get rid of the silver tooth. So I wasn't feeling the silver tooth. So by that time we got a new captain, and mom by that time moved to Cabbage Patch. So David Buggs, his father, David Buggs Sr., was a pastor. David Buggs was what you call a, you know, one of those rebellious church pastor kids. You follow me?
Yeah.
And he was a little bit, he was about a year older than me. And back in the days, brothers played the dozens. So the dozens was, you had to be able to bag too. You had to also be able not just have hands, but you had to be able to throw your lugs at brothers, and they had to be able to throw lugs back. You had to be able to come back and not get mad and want to fight right away. You had to be able to come back like Bernie Mac on that ass. You feel me? So, I'm out on the playground. They playing basketball. We jumped the fence to play basketball. And I got that name because initially the way I made money, I used to burglarize houses. The big homies used to send us in houses to go get the guns for them. They said we keep whatever else we get. You follow me?
Yeah.
So it started in Scottsdale. We used to go burglarize in the certain houses that they done scoped out. And back then we was loyal to our OGs. Loyalty was there before the crack game came in and messed that up in the early 80s. So anyway, we would bring back the guns to the big homies, our OGs back then. And we wasn't even using the word big homie back then. It was just our OGs. So we bring the guns to them. So I would have stuff that I done stole out of houses on me to sell inside my coat. And I'll open my coat up like a peddler. And I'll be like, look, man, look what I got right here, man. I pull stuff out of pockets, jewelry, rings. So I did that, and I kept that going when I got to the Cabbage Patch because my homie Rodney, he was one of my comrades, and we used to scope houses out over in the Cabbage Patch. And Rodney, he had came also from the Crips side to Piru. He came from Delano Woods, Harbor City area. So his sister got killed by the Crips. That was the reason he joined in with us. So back then, I pulled up on these brothers they playing basketball, and I'm trying to sell some wares that I done got out of people's houses. And David Buggs looked at me and he said, man, you's a peddling motherfucker. You's a motherfucking peddler. And everybody started laughing. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody started laughing, man. So I was looking at him like, oh, this motherfucker. I said, you Jerry Curls, slick head wearing motherfucker. Jerry Curls was out doing that time too. So I tried to bag back, but everybody was like, yeah, that nigga do be peddling shit. He be peddling, trying to sell shit. So the name stuck. I couldn't shake the name. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they used to come up to my house and ask for Peddler. My mom's would get mad and said, his name ain't Peddler. She said, you keep them hoodlums away from my house. His name ain't Peddler. And that's how the name stuck. And they would associate me with Keith Peddler. You follow me?
Right.
Rest was history.
Right. Got you. Hey, did y'all ever beef with the Harbor City Crips?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We would beef with them at times because we go over to their parties. We roamed back in the days. Back then, man, the brothers that was really from Carson, we came from LA and Compton. So we roamed everywhere. Wasn't no place off limits. So we go to Harbor City and party, run into some Crips. And as you know, the homie Anthony Cornell ready to set it off. and we get off into because back then we had families. The Cornell family was a big family. And, they had family connections to Westside Piru. So that was one of my comrades at the days, Anthony Cornell. We fight, gamble, fight, and go out and fight other people outside of the set, and then go put in work, when it was time. The bottom line is, yeah, we get into it with Harbor City. Sometimes it turned into a war. But and then we get into it with SA gangs too, because Young Man, you just made me think about Young Man, Rob DeVoe, rest in peace. He got out the county jail, and he was somewhere over in Harbor City area or Pedro area, and seen an SA that he had beat down in the county jail, and the SA wanted to get at him. He beat the SA down again, and then he was about to kill the SA, but his brother stopped him, and then the Mexican come back an hour later and shot our homeboy in the heart and hurt the hood. So we went on one, we smashed out Second Street Mob 13s over there for a long period of time. So we began to, get off on different 13 gangs. So the Cabbage Patch is known for, we don't give a fuck where you from. We was like anybody killers at that time when that happened to Rob DeVoe. But going back to Scottsdale, I just had to say this: what broke apart the Piru Crip thing was when I think bartender got killed in front of Dudos, and then word got back to us in Scottsdale. So every Valentine's Day, the Pirus would go on a mission on Crips, and then Salty got killed. Everybody know about Salty. He had the whole Crip car, Compton Crips CC. When he got killed, it fragmented that, and then they had another cat named Mac or something from there that was a leader for the Crips. But the Pirus in Compton and Carson associated real closely. So basically whatever went on in Compton sometimes dictated what went on in Carson. You follow me?
Oh, y'all beef with Compton Crips too?
Yeah. If the Pirus in Compton was beefing with them, we was beefing with them.
When did Victoria Park come into play? Victoria Park Crips.
That came a little bit later. They was around though, but they was more spooky than them. Victoria Park is 13s though. They Mexican gang, but they had a few Crips that lived in the midst of them that probably tried to uphold that Victoria Park Crip. But I don't know if they still around. They might still be, but I know overall the 13 gang is established over there. You follow me?
Right.
And I know they used to get in. I know it was some Crips in Victoria Park though, living in and amongst over there. They probably had families that been there and everything, but they never became no major factor. The only major Crip gang factor in Carson was Delano and Stevenson Village.
It's amazing to me that you grew up in the same vicinity as Kelsey, and then
Kelsey.
Then when y'all end up in Carson, y'all hadn't known each other.
Right, that's a trip. But I knew his brother Don.
Okay.
Rest in peace. Yeah, Don was in my age group. Kelsey was probably a little bit older than me, but Kelsey was family related to the Henderson family. And Kelsey used to come over there sometimes and as family to Terry Henderson. That was Terry's cousin before they fell out over something. And Kelsey had Terry kidnapped from the patch, took him to Sportsman Park. Yeah, Big Kelsey wasn't no joke. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we wasn't around at the moment. I think I was out of town somewhere. This back when the dope game was going in the 80s. So we moving weight out of state in different places. So I think I was in Tennessee or somewhere. But anyway, I heard about it. They got into it about some woman or something happened. And Kelsey kidnapped him, had him kidnapped from the hood and brought to Sportsman Park, took him to the back of the park, and the rest was history, but Terry survived. He made it. Go ahead.
So what significance is the Henderson family or Terry Henderson? Where was he from?
Terry's from Piru, from the Cabbage Patch Pirus, but they came from LA like I did. Okay. The Hendersons went to Manhattan Elementary School. They was another LA family, the Marcus White family. They were athletes. Marcus White, Walter White, Larry White, they were athletes that came from LA. They came from the Crip side, and they never did adopt the Pirus. They just stayed neutral on that, and the Terry came over into the Piru side. But he used to always look up to Kelsey, always talk about Kelsey, but then he became his own man and he got jumped into the Pirus, and we represented Eastside Patch Piru Gangster. Terry was one of my homies. And then he started traveling, doing his own thing in Oklahoma, different places.
Was the Centerview boys ever Crips?
Centerview? No, I never knew Centerview as Crips. I knew them as Pirus always. And they was lowriders mostly. They was players. A lot of they OGs was players with perms, had the lows. They go to Gardena. They was mostly like players, even what's the homie name? He's a comedian now. But he was gang banging. He was
Hughley.
Hughley is from 135. Excuse me. Yeah, I got that mixed up. But Hughley was actually at Gardena High. I think when I was there, I'm not sure. I might be a little bit older than him. But Hughley was an actual 135 Piru, and I used to stay all night in 135 hood. But back to Centerview Centerview to me was known as low riders that was from Piru, and they was about they was players, you know. And you know, Reggie Turner, I used to hang with Reggie Turner. We damn near got killed at Nutty Block Hood one night at a liquor store over there off of Central. I'll never forget that. We was slipping. We was slipping. I was like, man, get me the fuck up out of here. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? These niggas knocking on our windows and shit. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
This Nutty Blocks, you know, Nutty Block Compton Crip. But
right.
you know,
You ever heard of Alvin Hicks?
Yeah, I heard of Alvin. Yeah, I heard of Alvin. But basically, man, that's how it was, man. So we pushed that Piru gangster, man. I moved on Coco with my wife off of over in Spooktown Hood, right off of Alondra Park. And I'm gonna mention Skeeter McGeeta. He's from Acacia Block. His daddy lived in the Cabbage Patch. His brother was from Piru. Skeeter McGeeta from Acacia Block Crip. So, but I'm over there on Coco, chilling, you know, and right up from Compton High School. So, you know, we intermingle, we move around, man. Like I tell everybody, Carson got slept on when they came out with the Chronic album, and it was just Long Beach and Compton. I'm like, how you skip Carson? Because Carson, we with the activities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm talking about seriously with the viciousness. So I was like, how you gonna skip Carson, homie? You know what I'm saying? Long Beach back in the day, they didn't come out of Long Beach back in the day. They was Insane Crips in Long Beach and 20 Crips. All I knew about was the Gaither family, the Insane Crips. And the reason why I know about them, because one day me and my homie Rodney wore Insane on our shirts to what was that at? This is when Uncle Jam's Army used to throw parties at Alpine Village. So we had Insane on our shirts and our jackets. And somebody said, man, y'all from Insane Crip? And I said, nah, we from Piru. Cabbage Patch Piru Gangsters. They was like, oh, well, you know, y'all need to, that's Insane Crip. They insane. We thought y'all was cripping. Nah. Where they at? They in Long Beach. Oh, okay. So we stopped wearing it. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We stopped wearing Insane because the Insane Crips was super deep out there. They was like, in Long Beach, the Insanes was like what I would consider the Hoovers was back in the day. The Hoovers was like the major gang in LA to us in Carson back then. Rich Rolling didn't exist. It was Rolling 60s. 60s was like super big, you know, and the Hoovers, but it was the Hoovers when they was united. They was Hoover Crippin'. It wasn't no criminal. So whenever we had to go to the Funk Festival at Coliseum or the Forum, we'd be like, man, we finna go to Blue City, man. Especially in Coliseum, we finna go to Blue City. And the only gang we felt was gonna be a challenge to us on any level was be the Hoover Crips because of the way they got down. You follow me?
Yeah.
They was wicked with it back in the day, for real. I remember being in certain places, man, and they just be like, their old sign was Hoover, and they throw the whistle, but they was really united and they was deep. But, you know, then they began to get fragmented, you know, and that's why I guess they some kind of way became criminals through whatever they went through. But the Five Deuces is still Crips. Big Mike, I heard of Big Mike. I met him in jail though, up there, but I lived on Five Deuce off of Fig. And they was like, we still cripping though, big homie. I was like, right. They was like, but I said, but y'all be saying Sue whooping and grooving. Where that come from? They was like, well, you know how it go. I was like, no, I don't. Tell me. So I would see Van Ness over there with the Five Deuce Hoovers. I see the brims around them. I see the swans. Like, what's going on with these youngsters? This is in modern time. But back to where I'm coming from, I'm like, man, I was just straight Piruing, you know, and Piru gangster. I got it on my back, gangster. Got the PR. All my shit is prison tats. I did 13 years state time. You know, I did time in Bledsoe, Brushy Mountain Prison in Tennessee behind the dope game for attempted murder. That's where I ran into the homie from LA, Big Magoo. You might have heard of him from Underground Crip.
Yes.
Yeah, Big Magoo. He was down there locked up behind the dope game. We was both at Bledsoe Prison. And I had to run the blood card because I didn't want the Bloods getting us in no unnecessary wreck. Because by that time, the Kitchen Crips done resurrected in Memphis, and the Crips was deep up in the penal system. And Magoo was in there. They was wondering how me and Magoo was able to walk the yard and chill with each other. I said, we both from LA. And if you out of town, we call LA the land. So anybody that ever took the dope game out of town, when we see each other from LA, we wouldn't take off on each other negatively. We'd shake hands. What's up, man? Yeah, yeah. Where you from, the land? We knew by the way we dressed. So I was out there in Nashville with Big D from 60s. My cousin from Harlem 30s, Chris, was out there. Freddie Bow, one of my close friends from Shotgun Crip. We all in Tennessee, Nashville. Young Buck, we met him when he was out that way. He gravitated around us. And Master P from Louisiana did some shows. The homie Mark from 90 Crip. Big Sammy took the dope game out there to Nashville, and they did their thing. So, LA, we spread out. You know how it go.
Right.
Yeah, so I moved around. I never just stayed stationary. Once I got big enough and old enough to travel, I was out the house, man. I stopped going to church at 13. So I was in them streets trying to build my gang. And back then you had to build the Pirus. You had to build the gang up. We built our setup. We would jump out on the Crips in 190 and block with our gloves on, brownies on, let's go. Announce our nicknames. It would be gang fights, gang wars. Police just rolled down the street. You're looking, I guess somebody might have called them because I'm posted out front. But the bottom line, I'm posted doing my thing. I live over here back in the day, so I ain't worried about them. You feel me?
Right.
So, like I said, it was the world back then was about survival of the fittest, repping your set, repping your name, repping where you was from, and then had to really put in work, Wasn't no talking about it. You had to put it down, man. And I met Suge Knight. When I finally met Suge was at Rogers Park. I was introduced to him. You feel me?
What year?
I can't really call it a year, but it was before he became Death Row.
Okay.
He had a security business and he was a power lifter. I was in the weight room working out because I works out. I ain't worked out in like 2 or 3 months because I injured my back, but I work out. But anyway, Suge came in there, introduced himself. He wanted me to join his security team. It's funny that the police just sitting at the stop sign. You feel me?
Yeah, but they might be watching you on live, man.
I believe they are, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't tripping. I'm well known. Gang Patrol, no peddler. So
you should have yelled out the window, Kel Mac videos, bitch.
Yeah, I should have did that, huh? Yeah, but anyway, like I was saying, Suge came at me like, Peddler, man, what's up, man? I was like, man, he said, I want to put you on with the security. I was like, I'm good though, homie. I'm good. And Big West was one of Suge's probably trainers in the weight room, because Big West was a big old giant power lifter from Inglewood. But Suge Knight was cool people. But I told Suge when I met him, I said, man, I never, I didn't know you back in the day, homie. I was gang banging, so I'm like, if a man's name wasn't ringing for the gang banging, I'm like, I'm not finna even be trying to get too close to him. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, Suge's younger than you, right?
Yeah, he's a lot younger than me. Not too much younger than me, but yeah, he's younger than me. And I told Suge, I said, man, I'm one of the founders of a set from Piru, See, back in the day, you had athletes that was a part of the hood, but they didn't gang bang. They were just athletes. Athletes caught a pass. So most of the time, those that was really gang banging, that was with the killing, they would give athletes a pass. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you was an athlete, a player, you had to be with that bandana for us to get, you had to be officially banging, and we would get at you. We wasn't the type of people that just got as innocent people. As Pirus, I know my hood did. We wanted you. We wanted the gang banger. We didn't want the niggas that wasn't banging. You feel me? So yeah. It was hard for me to allow anybody that plays sports or just be a player, a ladies' man, to lead me. You're not finna lead me. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it was all good though. Suge was cool. I knew Dulo, my guy, rest in peace, and Killer Whack. I met them up at Rogers Park. My homie L Don from Villains live over there in Inglewood, so Slim. So I know a lot of them, Squeak Roo, because I travel. But the bottom line is I lived in City Stone Hood on Wilton, met Santa Claus before he got killed by some situation.
Santa Claus from 20s NHB, right?
Yeah, legendary.
Right.
Me and the homie Dink from Cross Atlantic Piru met Santa Claus. I pulled up in my 72 Chevy Impala, Santa Claus came out the shadows like he was finna try to put a jack move down. But we were strapped up to him. My Dink said, "Don't do it, Claus, don't do it." And they started laughing and greeted each other. That's when I met Santa Claus. But I'd always heard about him from my relatives from Harlem 30s. And he was definitely an arch enemy of theirs, and they respected him. They you know, he was an enemy. They wanted him bad, but they respected him for what he can do. And you know how it was. He was just a sick-witted cat. You feel me?
Yeah. Did you know Terry Carter?
I knew of Terry Carter. I didn't even meet Terry Carter personally, but I knew of his name.
How about
he was known for low riding mostly and getting his money. You follow me?
Yeah. How about the Carson bounty hunters or the Samoan army?
All that came later, man. Okay. Me personally, I didn't run with a lot of Samoans. The only Samoan like I said, that I kicked it with or chilled with was Rob DeVoe, Harry Allo, Michael Allo, Vaikiki Simi, a few of them, because, you know, my initial contact with Samoans, I scrapped with one of them, you know, when I came from Manhattan, from LA, you feel me?
Yeah.
So I wasn't really, I came from being a black soul man from LA, you know, black and I'm proud mentality, you know. But I love the Samoans, the ones that love me, right. And I fuck with the real ones. But, you know, there was times that Samoans get drunk and they want to fight with brothers, you feel me?
Man, so that's what that alcohol do in the ghetto, man.
Yeah, but I got nothing but love for Booyah Tribe because I like the way they put it down. I got nothing but love for the West Side Pirus, you know.
Yeah, shout out to Booyah Tribe. I fuck with them.
Shout out. Yeah, much love. Much love and rest in peace to Godfather. You feel me?
Right. Yeah, hey, Anthony Brown wants you to tell us about Jim Brown.
Oh, yeah. When I was up, my cousin from Harlem 30s introduced me to Jim Brown. So I got to give my cousin a shout out from Harlem 30 Crip. You know what I'm saying? Chris, he the one introduced me. He said, man, Jim got something going on for the gangs up there, man. You might want to meet him and get in on it. So that's how I got up to Jim Brown's. I would go up there, and that's where I met High T and Ray from Grape Street, Chill Will, and Daoud Sherrills and his brother. They was all from Grape. And I met T. Rogers from Black P Stone up there. And I met Keith Stone. I got a friendship started with Keith Stone from 60s, rest in peace. He came up there, you know what I'm saying? He came up there a few times. His name was Keith. My name was Keith. That's how me and him became cool and shit. I was from the east side. He from the west. I said, man, you 60s are some proud brothers like Piru's. I said, man, it's probably a good thing we spread it apart. And me and Keith would laugh. Keith said, man, come kick it with me at Charlie's over there off Florence. I said, I'm coming. I'm solo most of the time. When you see me, I'm by myself. Anybody that know me, I don't ride with a group I ride just me. You feel me?
Yeah.
You know, it's rare. If I'm with a group, it's because I got love for them or I fucking with them. Or some low rider shit going on. But most of the time, I'm solo bolo. That's how I was taught to ride. And I got my own one crimey, that's it. But anyway, I came over there and chilled with Keith Stone at Charlie's by myself, chilling and shit, you know, watching the bras. But yeah, Keith was cool. Rest in peace, man. Hate what happened to him. Then I met Keita Rock doing the truce parties up at PJ Watts. They had a big old function. Tony Bogart was alive then. Rest in peace. And we all went over there. My hood wasn't trucing, but I was curious about the truce since I was going up to Jim Brown's house. So I wanted to see brothers kind of come together and slow down on the killing. You know, we all lost loved ones from both sides. So it was like, man, come on, man. So we out there. So me and Keita Rock met as we walking into the PJs, and the bounty hunters is Mad Dog and Keita Rock. Me and Keita Rock, you know, Keita Rock stopped. I looked at Keita Rock. He looked at me. I had just met Keita Rock. I had to give him his props on this. The bounty hunters was mad dogging though from the walk. Keita Rock stopped, walked up to him. He said, relax. I'm Big Keita Rock from 6-0. You know, I probably didn't kill a whole lot of motherfuckers that y'all hated. That's just how he said it, man. You know, I was looking at him like it. I told the bounty hunter, I said, man, look, man, we all here. It's Piru right here, man. We just chilling. They was like, oh, okay. But they was still looking, and we walked on. It was crowded with Crips and Bloods and women, everything. They was doing the truce parties at the height of it. So, you know, I had my 40 Glock on me. and my homie G-Bone, rest in peace. Go ahead.
I hate to laugh about that statement, you know, killing other brothers, but I laugh because that's the type of dude Keith Rock is, man. He don't have no fear, and he always got something slick to say.
Right. And so I wanted to say it that way so you'll know that I was with him that night. Just walking with him. I met him that night. And he reminded me of certain things because I'm that kind of cat that can smile at you. I'll say some slick shit too, because I go everywhere. I was one of the only Pirus that could go to the workshop back. You heard of the workshop?
No. Remind me.
It's right here on Western. It was a club that all the Crips went to from the West Side, the 9-0 Crips, the A-Tray, the workshop. It was known as the workshop.
Was it right off Manchester?
It's right off Manchester and West.
Yeah, I remember. I've only been there once.
Okay, but, I went a few times, but I used to go to the Players' Choice a lot.
Okay.
You heard of the Players' Choice?
Definitely.
I went to the Players' Choice a lot, and then after that, I would hang out at Fast Eddie's, a restaurant right there.
Yeah, that was my partner, my stepfather.
Yeah, that's where I met. Fast Eddie, your stepfather?
No, my partner's, my homeboy's stepfather.
Yeah, okay. Well, Fast Eddie had that spot, and that's where I met Batman from 6'9" East Coast Crip. He was part of security.
Yeah.
And Big Fox from Santana Block. You heard of them?
Yeah.
So them homies of them cool brothers of mine that, you know, and I used to be at the Players' Choice with the A-Tray Gangsters up there, country, different ones. And the Brims used to come through and party too, man. I mean, you know, I say during that time, that area was probably like off limits to a certain 60s, you know, it was out of bounds for them to show up in there, you know, because one dude showed up in there and I was like, why is he here? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Crips got him, man, you know, about some money or whatever. They got him, though. They didn't even rob him. He had a gang of money. It was during the time of high rollers in the dope game. But touching on the 60s, man, Boo Boo Rochelle, cool cat I met at this church I went to. He was like a pimpish type dude. And Eddie Boy from 60s used to be an enemy of mine when he was an East Coast Crip. I was hunting for him.
Oh, yeah. He came from Carson.
Yeah, he came from Carson, dark skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, Eddie Boy, he caught me over there I was on 11th Ave. I had a girlfriend over there. I'm coming out some apartments. I guess he had been spying me out over that way. And he said, what's up now, Peddler? You know, and I'm looking at him and I see 60s coming out of their apartment complexes, but I'm like, nigga, oh, this where you at? I said, no wonder I couldn't find you, nigga. You went over here and hopped into another gang. Did you tell these niggas you was a buster mark to me? Nigga, to my mind, I was hunting for him. You feel me?
Yeah.
So we was enemies at that time. So I was just I was really clowning him because he tried to put me in a twist right then. So he ain't no buster, but I was trying to clown him, because I knew I didn't want the 60s to rush me on account of him. You feel me?
Right, I got it.
It was that serious. Yeah. You know where 11th Ave is, right? In Hyde Park.
Yeah.
So I come out of there and we out in the front and they crowded up and I'm like, what's happening, homie? We can go head up, blood. Let's get it. We do this. And I was like, the 60s kind of looked at him like, what's happening? The nigga said, what's up? He right here. I ain't no running from him. I'm right there. If he gonna kill me, kill me. If you gonna fight, do something. You feel me?
Yeah.
So back then, you know, our age group, Kev, you understand, we was willing to die for what we represented.
Ain't no question.
We didn't give a fuck. It was like from the cradle to the grave. So we used to pour liquor out and be like, come to my funeral, homie. My mom used to say, I'm gonna take insurance out on you because you ain't gonna live to see 21. That's how we was living back in the day. So, you know, I remember one time me and the homie T, we clowning, we pull up on a nigga coming down Western. This is when the 30s was into it with the 20s when Big Dip got killed. So the 20s was on one. They was smoking different dudes from 30. So we riding down, we wasn't in their war. We just happened to be riding down Western. So we see some 30s, some street scraggling 30s hanging out. So we got the convertible white Chevy glass house with the red rag interior. So we holler out, we got you now, nigga. We clowning, right? And we bang on them. So two of the 30s took off running. One of them turned around, threw up the 2 C's and gave us his backside. Like, nigga, if you got us, If you got me, kill me right here. You feel me? We like, nigga, we give you that. We had to laugh. We said, nigga, cause we held guns out laughing. We was like, nigga, this Piru, nigga, we ain't in y'all war. But we gave that, we never forgot that nigga, because that nigga threw them 2C. His homies left him, but that nigga turned and gave us his back because he knew he was just too close to run. You feel me?
Right.
And he threw up the 2Cs and the thumbs like, nigga, fuck it. I die like this. And we said, fuck it. We just pushed on and left that nigga living because we like, this ain't our war, and pushed on. It was like, and we never forgot that. I said, man, you see how that dude did it? I said, that's how we are. Nigga, it's all the way to the wheels fall off. Like my homie Bodacious told me, never forget your stripes. You know, I don't gang bang no more, Kev, you know, but I'm a gang banger. I'm a real one, you know, and I'm one of them niggas that don't give a fuck wherever I'm at. My cousins, we know we get down like that, you know. At one time, I didn't give a fuck. It was just anybody. So then now I'm more of a black man, more back to my roots as a black power brother. And that's what I push on my Facebook page about blackness unity. And that's what I desire.
One thing about it is you was black before you was a gang member. So
yeah,
like you said, you go back to your roots. And for the viewers, I want to explain something real quick. When he tells that Eddie boy story, in our culture, you know, amongst real men that know the pitfalls of the devil and just reacting in situations like that, a lot of times when that person is confronted by a rival, it's on that person to make the first move, then everybody there will support that person. But if that person don't make the first move, we not fucking with you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I've seen many a times people get out of situations where they was jacked up like that, man.
Exactly. And you know, I'm just gonna say, man, it was times, homie. I gave passes to certain people's lives, and they gave passes to my lives. I mean, had me dead to right, man. And I got away just by another Crip helping me out. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, the Crips had me. The 190s had me at a house party. They had took my low ride. They took my car was sitting down the street. They surrounded the car. It wasn't no low ride. It was just a car, a G ride. They had surrounded that. So I was inside the party. Lamont Whitehead and a few other ones. You know, he was repping it to the fullest. Rest in peace. Lamont Whitehead, Al Whitehead. They was the ones pushing that Crip hard up in Delano, and they had me inside the party. And my homeboy Kirk Robinson was an athlete at the time. He wasn't associated with the Piru gang, but he lived in the patch. He told me these dudes setting you up to kill you. And you know, I was one of them Pirus out there that they spray painted my name on the wall. They wanted me to die. They said Keith Peddler must die. They spray painted AD, Aaron Duncan's name, and different homies. They wanted to die from the patch. And they spray painted our names on the wall in their hood. So the rest of their homies would say, these are the niggas that gotta be killed. And I think they spray painted it on Termine. I'm not sure. But anyway, they had me in the party. And man, I was lucky at the time that I was strapped at the time. And once they knew I was up to it, knowing that they was finna kill me, try to kill me, they kind of froze up a minute, gave me an opportunity to go outside. And I seen this Crip. They used to come on my block on 215. He'd come over there to talk to this female that was his girlfriend. And I seen him. I said, hey, homie, he wasn't no Crip. He was an associate, but his daddy was a church pastor. I knew a lot about him. And I said, hey, homie, I need you to get me to my hood. And he said, man, if they see me, they gonna kill me. I said, look, homie, just take your truck, drive it around the corner. I'll jump in it. He said, all right. I said, because if you don't do it and I survive this, you already know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? So he saved me. I jumped in the back of his truck and he got me back over to the patch. And I've had incidents where, you know, women, me and the homie Bullhead coming up out of a house, 2 cars of Crips is on us. They just follow us back to the hood, you know, but it was times where it was like, man, you know, women could get you set up, homie. Me and the homie Booby, who jumped me in from Scottsdale, Piru, we used to jump out and go to parties in Delano, turnout parties too. We ran niggas through their parties too, you know, the ones that was slipping. I remember vaguely, I remember one time getting out at a party in East Coast 190 and going into the backyard. Bull Scott was there when I went. I had a sawed-off shotgun on me. And then I was waiting on my homies to come. And they finally came, but I was asking for a light. And they was like backing away from me. They was getting ready to set up. Probably went and told their homies to bring guns. But anyway, we got out of that situation. But to make a long story short, me and Randy Scott was like friends in the classroom, then enemies on the streets. You follow me?
Yep.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yep.
That's crazy. We would be in the classroom bagging on the teacher, bagging on niggas, and then on the streets we had to side with our homies. You feel me?
Yep. That's the
Man.
That's the paradox of gang banging, man. It's all kind of weird situations that we go through,
Man.
especially like I've been telling this story a lot lately. I met Grover from 151 Piru. You know Grover?
From where you from?
151 Piru.
No, I probably know him by face, but I know Meter Brain from
Okay,
151 Piru. Go ahead.
he's a first generation, man.
Okay.
Probably the founder of 151 or ran in that circle, if not.
Yeah.
But point being, when I meet Grover and I talk to Grover, man, his son a reputable from Q102.
Ain't that something?
And so that's just crazy how you could be from Piru and your son a Crip, and just like Michael DeRoe, bounty hunter, son from Southside Crip.
See, hey, it's how it is, man. Look, man. Like with me, I didn't even know that Del Dog name was my cousins back in my banging days. I used to go over there to buy dope from weed from the main streets. I had my P hat on, my pirate P hat on, hair whipped up, jump out the car with the homie Stutterbox, who was from Westside Piru, part of a car club called Other Side, but I wasn't a part of the car club. But we go over there to get some weed, and I go in the midst of the mafias, but I felt some kind of kindred spirit, not knowing that I would be down the line. My real pops, Joe Johnson, would tell me, man, you got cousins down there. And then we end up talking. I end up Mike calling my dad, and I found out this is after the gang banging fact that we relatives. You feel me?
Man.
And I was going over there buying weed. I'd be strapped up, ready to go if I had to, but I wasn't anti-main streets at the time. Back in the day, it was all about the particular Crip set that you was into it with. You feel me? Other Crip sets, to me, they wasn't my enemy like that, but they could become enemies if they wanted to. But it was more so the enemy set to my hood was East Coast 190 Crip. You follow me?
Yeah.
They pretty much overall took over Delano. The block Crips kind of faded out by getting older or whatever and going on with their lives. But the East Coast 190 Crips became the main Crip factor in Delano. So that was basically the only, and the Harbor City Crips and Crips in those areas in the South Bay area. Long Beach, we didn't really have too many problems with Long Beach. Like I said, during that time back in the day, Long Beach, they stayed in Long Beach because it was big enough for them to do whatever they wanted to do in Long Beach. But you had to deal with Long Beach niggas when you went to the Pike. You remember the Pike?
Yeah, in Long Beach, yeah.
Yeah, and the Insane Crips was deep out there. That was their world, and then when eventually I ended up moving to Long Beach in a halfway house when I got out of Soledad, that's when I met the Fuller family. And I remember meeting T. Fuller, and he was getting his money out there, and he gave me the green light to make some money out there while I was on parole, state parole. So I was hustling, and he was getting his money, and he was making his moves, and he was getting it, but he was getting his hookup through the homies from the ghost town. But anyway, T. Fuller's uncle, Cecil Fuller, owned the Palace, which was a club or something. And Cecil, I think, was like a pimpish type dude. But anyway, T. Fuller's one of his cousins is married to Snoop Dogg. You feel me? The Snoop's wife is a Fuller. She part of that family. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I met Snoop when he was a youngster with the high top fade rapping at Stevie Wonder's radio station. Dr. Dre was there. Ice-T was there. This was during the Truce time. This is when Deep Cover was out. And Snoop came off as a genuine type of young brother that was a Crip, but he was just genuine, chill about the way he is with his rapping and all that, And it was good to meet him. Ice-T, another real one I met. He was part of the Jewelry Licks, I guess, and he was repping that 40s back in the day. But Ice-T, he known by the 30s. They know Ice-T. You feel me?
Yeah. Hey, Anthony want to know if you think Booby would do an interview.
Of course. Eventually, I was trying to get him to do one along with me today, but he caught up on some other things right now downtown LA. But yeah, Booby love to do an interview about Scottsdale. Okay. Scottsdale, the originations of the Dells, like I said, it ain't all been told, but at one time, like I just said it, how it was. It used to be all white people, and then 2 years later, Compton, Piru's, and LA, we all moved in there. You know, I repped LA. I was proud of being from LA, and they was proud for being from Compton. And you know, it is what it is. And basically, LA and Compton turned out Carson, because
Right.
most of our parents that moved from LA and Compton considered themselves moving on up.
Right. Right.
You follow me? You know, they was known, especially Delano, they was known as some rich bangers. You feel me? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
they
For
was like,
sure.
what y'all gang banging for? Them nice houses over there. But then at the same time, you can look at Compton and its history one time, you know, and you look at what Piru's and all them houses is nice on Piru Street in the west side. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, you know, you look around at houses even where I'm at right now over in 94th and Hobart. They little houses, but they nice houses. They don't,
Right.
I mean, cats coming from New York and from Philadelphia would be like, man, they got gangs over here. They would be shocked. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, even in certain parts of 60s, you know, Rich
Yeah.
Rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I got cousins live up that way. You know, he Rich Rolling. You know, my cousin Aaron, you know, he loved them Rams. And then, you know,
Oh man, I
go
was a
ahead.
Ram fan when I was a kid. I can't stand them motherfuckers now because they bandwagons too big.
Yeah, you know what? I was a Ram fan way back. Look, I'm 57, so I go way back. I was a Ram fan way back when Roman Gabriel was a quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And James Shaq Harris took over.
Hell yeah.
You know, I was a Ram fan, but then Dallas would beat them, and I ended up becoming Dallas, and I said, fuck Dallas too. I ended up going with the Raiders when Marcus Allen and them came
Ah,
on. But I was always loving the Raiders with George Atkinson and Tatum. You feel me?
yeah, I
And
got the same story, dog.
yeah, so I ended up becoming a Raider fan, diehard. But before I became a Raider fan, I was a Ram fan, then a Dallas Cowboy fan with Staubach, Calvin Hill, Drew Pearson, you know,
Man,
all that. So I tell people, if you tell me your team, you should know the players that played in that time period. You feel me?
got to name them all. It looked like you losing your signal, dog. And I was about ready to wrap it up anyway. Can you still hear me? I think we lost him. Yeah, we lost Keith. Well, man, hope y'all enjoyed this, man. We're supposed to be going on in about an hour and 20 minutes, trying to get all the original bloods from my platform. You know, none excluded. All the original bloods on my platform are supposed to be getting together in one room as far as on this platform and talking, man. So check back, man. Hopefully we have that going on in about an hour and 20 minutes. If not, still want to give a shout out to Anthony Brown. Shout out to Keith Peddler. Shout out to everybody that checked this interview out, that liked it and shared it. And for all the guys that patronize this channel. Appreciate all you guys, man. And hopefully we be back on an hour and 20 minutes, y'all. Peace.